place where I like to talk about my making within the fiber arts. So that mostly includes knitting, spinning, a little bit of crochet, and occasionally I talk about the yarn dyeing that I do. So if you would like to find me on social media, I will put that information for you here on the screen. And of course you can find links down below to anything that I'm going to talk about today in the description box. So you guys can see Darcy's bum here with me. She's usually my little recording partner. I don't have a ton to talk about today. I've been really monogamous, working on one thing in particular, which should come as no big surprise if you watched the last episode, but I did just want to pop on here real quick and check in with you guys for this week. I have a finished object to share with you guys, and these are my Scrappy socks that I made with last year's advent calendar leftovers. These are about half of the colors from last year's advent calendar. The other half are kind of like lighter pastels and softer colors. I went with the garnet heel on both of these, and I'm really pleased with how these worked up. I just did my usual 72 stitch vanilla sock. I did toe up this time, and I did 15 rows of each color for the stripes, other than the toe and the heel, because obviously I just did whatever was required for those. But that worked out to be a really good length for both the foot and the heel for me. So I'm really pleased with how these worked up. I know that you guys are probably sick of seeing these socks. So last time I had talked about how I'm not really getting as much sock knitting done as I would like, mainly due to the fact that I do a lot of my sock knitting in the car, and obviously we're not going very many places right now, but I found a little workaround or a new place to kind of sneak in some sock knitting every once in a while, which that will lead me to my first work in progress. Of course, somebody is laying on them. Okay. So these are a new pair of socks that I have started with my fall colorway called Plumpkin Spice. And I was feeling like I wanted something a little bit different from a plain old vanilla sock. So I just decided to do some seed stitch here on the first 36 stitches. I wanted to do a cuff down sock because I'm still not convinced that I like toe up from my personal foot and leg. I don't like how tight the bind off is on the cuff here. It's not bad. I did my usual go up 3 or 4 sizes, needle sizes, to get a loose bind off, but it still is, I don't know. I gotta try some different bind offs, but usually when I'm at the end of something, I'm just like, I don't feel like learning something new, so I just go with what's familiar. That being said, I just prefer cuff down. It's what I learned how to do originally, and I think that's why I tend to go to that for my default. So yeah, 72 stitch sock. I am doing, again, some seed stitch just here on the first 36 stitches. I was kind of thinking, once I started to see the stitch pattern get established, that I should have done some kind of additional purl ditch along the edge there, but it is what it is. I don't think it looks bad or anything. And I'm not sure yet if I want to continue this texture down the entire top of the foot or not. I'm just going to kind of decide once I get to that point. But I did want to go ahead and get these knit up and show you guys. This is what the colorway looks like on the reverse side in the stockinette. And I feel like this orange is coming across a little more yellow than it actually is in person. It's a lot warmer. And I'm just really loving these fall colors and how it's almost doing a self-striping thing. It's more of kind of a spiral pool, but I really like how that is coming out. And I did start these at the same point in the yarn, so they would be relatively matching, which I don't really care if they're not exact, but I'm pretty pleased with how these are working up. They look really nice, and I love the tweed base. there are white tweed nips in there, and some of the dyes, obviously, like the reds, tend to strike that cotton nip, and they're not supposed to. They're supposed to resist and stay white or undyed, but it's okay. I kind of like the kind of faded, I don't know what kind of look you would call that, but I like the fact that they're not clean and crisp in a way. I think it just adds a little bit more character to the yarn and to the knit. So yeah, these are coming along nicely. Oh, and the way that I am getting these knit, since we're not in the car a whole lot, I have just started keeping these beside the bed, which my husband is not thrilled about knitting in bed, but I just pick these up and I do 5 or 6 rounds, you know, every night while he's like scrolling through his phone or whatever. And I just find that's a good way to kind of slowly chip away and keep knitting up some socks. These are my Plumpkin Spice socks, and I think I have 1 or 2 sock sets left in the shop, but I am going to dye up another batch of this colorway because they have been going quick, and I just really love these colors. I'm really into these fall kind of colors right now. I have been knitting on one other thing that I can't quite show you guys yet, so I'm really excited to share that in the next few weeks. But for the time being, I have been really enjoying still my Weekener, and yes, I have finished the front and back panel for the body and joined it. So it is a 3 needle bind off, so you get that exposed seam at the top there. I'm really proud of myself for actually doing the tubular bind off here on the neckline, which I have not had great success with in the past. The method that is suggested within this pattern is to separate the knits and the purls onto 2 separate needles, and then you essentially do a Kitchener stitch to get this tubular bind off. So it is a little bit extra work, and I gotta say, the more that I look at it, the more that I like it. I do still overall feel like tubular bind offs are, I don't know that there is a ton of reward for all of the effort that goes in, but maybe my mind is changing a little bit on that. I have gone ahead and sewn in a lot of my ends because there are quite a few ends to weave in with the knitting the front and the back, and then you break the yarn to do the neckline as well. So I wanted to go ahead and kind of get some of that tedious stuff out of the way, and I have started on my first sleeve, so this is coming along really nicely. I think I'm at the point where I have to either think about switching to magic loop or DPNs. I don't really like magic loop for sleeves. I feel like when I do magic loop on sleeves, I knit at a slightly tighter gauge, so that's something that I am contemplating. I need to go see if I have DPNs in the correct needle size for this, but I tried it on once I finished the body portion, and I'm really pleased with how it fits. I don't think I mentioned this last episode. When I swatched for this, I was getting just slightly bigger gauge than what the pattern called for, so I went down a needle size, and I actually chose a size that only would have had about 6 inches of positive ease. I think the pattern calls for 10 inches of positive ease, and as I was knitting the body and I split for the front and the back, I felt like it was gonna be really big. Like, I thought I was gonna get somewhere around 8 inches of positive ease, but once I like closed it up and started picking up for the sleeves, I feel like some of that ease kind of gets pulled in a little bit. So when I tried it on, it did seem to fit more of how I had in mind to begin with. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how this is working up, and I anticipate having this done by the next time I record. So that's really it for the knitting that I have been working on, which is a little bit crazy. I always feel like I have way more to share with you guys as far as knitting goes. I have been getting some work done on my Battenberg blanket for my nephew. I am at 170 squares, and I think 178 is the halfway point. So I'm not even going to take a picture or post it. I'm going to wait until I get some more progress done on joining the squares before I bring it out and show you guys again. But I feel like I am actually making progress and getting there. So in some other exciting news, my brother and sister-in-law, Jason's brother and his wife, they are expecting a new baby girl in January. So I'm super excited to be getting a new niece in the new year. And I'm wanting to crochet her up a blanket. This is a blanket that was gifted to me when I was a young child. I don't think I was a baby necessarily, but this is a blanket that has been with me throughout the years. I've had it for probably about 30 years now. It's just some kind of acrylic yarn, and it is super pilly, but you know what? It's probably one of my favorite things. So I really want to make my new niece a blanket that she can take with her throughout the years. And I was thinking about doing this same stitch pattern, which after a little bit of internet sleuthing, I believe is called the Jacob's Ladder stitch. And I've watched the videos and it looks really simple. I've done kind of a little swatch with it, and I feel comfortable in my very limited crochet skills to make that happen. Now, I have a lot of this Karen sprinkle cakes that was my mom's yarn when she and my dad sold their house to go RVing. She left like 12 of these cakes for me to destash for her, but she has told me that I can use it, of course, if I need to. So this is a chunky weight yarn, and I just don't know if chunky weight is appropriate for a baby blanket. Granted, I want this to be a blanket that she can use for years to come, so I'm not worried about making it baby blanket size necessarily. So I tried some of that Jacob's Ladder stitch with this, but I ripped it out. I wasn't really liking the way that it was working up. And then I just started swatching the other night. This is kind of double crochet, and then a single row of single crochet and a half double crochet. And I just don't know that the chunky weight is gonna be what I want to use for her blanket. So I'm kind of back to the drawing board. We'll see. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. I think that I do want to do that stitch pattern more than anything. So that might mean going out and buying few skeins of yarn, and that is okay with me. I just have to find like just the right thing. So speaking of nieces, the now youngest niece, who will soon be the middle child, she requested, back when we saw them in July, she requested a shawl for her birthday in November. And the reason she requested is her older sister. I sent her a shawl from my overflowing closet full of shawls. I sent her one for her birthday back in March. It was just an older one that I never really wore, and I don't know, it just felt like it needed a new home. So yes, Miss Olivia has requested one. She was the one that I was teaching how to knit in our little beach vlog. She requested purple and teal based off of these two colors in the socks. So I dyed up some skeins of my colorway called Mermaid's Hair in some worsted weight yarn that I had. I don't normally stock a lot of worsted weight, so these skeins have just kind of been sitting around. So I dyed up these two to knock her out a quick little shawl, and then I popped a few extra in the shop as well. But if you guys have any suggestions for a really quick, it doesn't have to be super big because she's gonna be 6. So just something super quick that I can whip up for her and make her a cute little shawl. I mean, if nothing else, I know there's a few free ones that, the Renya pattern, I think that's how you say that, or there's one that I've done in the past, the Age of Brass or something like that. So yeah, I want to go ahead and knock this out for her real quick because her birthday is in November, early November. So I'm thinking this is going to be a new cast on. I guess that kind of segues me a little bit into yarn dyeing. I'm still kind of putting kind of one-off things and whatnot in my Etsy shop. And I've also been dyeing some yarn up for Naomi, who is the yarn curator. She is my sister. She also has a podcast. So she has requested some emerald green yarn. Now, over the years, her and I have discussed emerald green, and we had to exchange some pictures so we got on the same page as far as what she expects from emerald and what I think of when I think of emerald. I think of more the like bright green, and I think she pictures kind of the deeper green. So anyway, we finally got on the same page, and I dyed her up some MCN and some silk mohair. The MCN on the bottom came out a little bit more blue, a little bit more spruce blue, and the light is kind of blowing it out here. But I think the silk mohair came out absolutely perfect. It just kind of glows in real life, and I think once she holds them together, it's gonna make a really lovely combination for a sweater. So sorry if I'm stealing your thunder here, Nay, showing off your emerald green yarn. So yeah, I'm working up a care package for her to go down. I know she's got one going for me. So yeah, we just like to exchange things a couple of times a year. So finally, the last thing that I've kind of gotten some work on here lately is I finished spinning and plying this color for my Jupiter crop. I've just been referring to this as like a melon green. It kind of reminds me of honeydew. So that's probably what I'll call this with my hair on it. And I'm really pleased with how this turned out. It is a 2-ply, traditional 2-ply, short forward worsted spin. That's kind of how I've been spinning all of these up. So you can kind of get an idea of how these are looking together now. I didn't bring up the other 2 braids. If you want to see the color palette that I have in mind, the last 2 episodes have those. So yeah, this olive green will be my main body color, and then first contrast color and second contrast color for the Jupiter crop. That's a pattern by Caitlin Hunter. I've finished a full 4 ounces of singles of this olive green, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and power through and spin the next 4 ounces of that before I get into the last 2 contrast colors. So this is really what I want to be working on the most, but I kind of feel like I have a few other obligations and things that need to get some attention before I can kind of dive headlong, or as much as I want to, into this kind of spinning and knitting project. So that's all of the making that I have to share with you guys. If you want to join Naomi and I, we are running a Steek Along currently. We have a Ravelry group set up for that. We can also use the hashtag SteekAlong2020. And I know she has a video up on her channel for some steeking patterns. I do have a project going on, but I haven't gotten any rows done on it since the last time I shared with you all. And let's see what else. So today is Wednesday. I'm going to be uploading this on Thursday. I have one last advent calendar left in the shop. After that, I am done for the year. I will be getting those out hopefully towards the end of October. I have 8 mini colors left to dye up, and then all of the full skeins, and then the work. The real work begins with assembling them all into boxes and whatnot. So I think that's about it. I know this is a little bit of a short and sweet episode, but again, I've got some things kind of going on in the background that I am going to be sharing with you guys in the coming weeks. And of course, advent calendars are kind of taking up a lot of my time, but I see the light at the end of the tunnel. This is always kind of my busiest time of year, I feel like. So yeah, thank you for joining me today. Of course, if you like the video, feel free to give that a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any of my new videos. I'm trying to get into this once a week habit and upload on Thursdays. I don't know, but you can probably expect a video from me once a week. And yeah, I hope that you guys are having a lovely end of summer, beginning of fall, and I will see you again soon. Bye. Darcy, you doing an inspection? What do you think? Do you give your seal of approval? Yeah, I don't think those are your size.